There we go. So if you saw this title, you'd be like, whoa, gaslighting. It's almost like it's like, do you know the word boule? You know what the boule is? The grand boule? All of you truthers out there, all of you conspiracy theorists out there. The grand boule is the black secret society, Freemasons, the group that controls the entertainment industry, at least, what you can glean from what's available. It's definitely not something that is super, super hidden, but it's also something that is not commonplace. And interestingly, nowadays, if you look up boule, Boule with the little ole over it. If you look up boule, it's going to show you the soup bowl, the bread soup bowl. This thing that became popular in 2000s or whatever, I don't know. I don't know when the bread bowls first became a thing, but it was in my lifetime. I'm sure it wasn't the first time, but when they became popular. And so it's interesting to think that if you go look up boule, first you're going to have to find the grand boule in order to do your research. It's like it's a firewall. It's like it's an obstacle that's there, that if somebody is looking for the way out, or somebody is distracted or confused or just not the smartest, they'll see it. I heard somebody talking about this boule. I heard Boule. And they go look it up, and it's like, oh, that's a soup bowl. It's the distraction is right there. It's like they put up words to accommodate the deception, right? So they knew that people were going to start looking up boule. They came up with this soup bowl thing and ran with it. And it's the same thing with gaslighting. The term gaslighting is relatively new in our lexicon. And it's, it almost doesn't even make sense. Like, how did it get named gaslighting? How did that even take place? I always find it fascinating. My kids will be using a new word, and it's like, well, how did that happen? How did the new word get decided on? This week, we're going to call each other gang. What's up, gang? And, a week or two, it'll be something else. And like, who decides these word changes and adaptions, and who decides all that shit? I know in 2021, they changed the spelling of anti-Semitism from ANTI-SEMITISM to all one word, ANTISEMITISM, lowercase. And the given reason was because they didn't want people, Goyim, thinking that anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They didn't want us to know that Semitism was an actual thing, was its own individual thing. And what Semitism means, and Semitism is policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. And of course you don't want us to know that that's a thing. Policy, or it's like a policy of a policy or predisposition being favorable to Jews. It's supremacy. Policy is rules and regulations. Predisposition is like, it's even worse. Like, when it comes to predisposition, it's more of like a genetic sort of programming kind of thing. Whereas, You know, if your father has heart disease, your grandfather has heart disease, great grandfather, you know, uncles and all that, that means you're predisposed to heart disease. You have a predisposition to heart disease. So this is a programming that's beyond your control. This is a programming that is, you know, you can't do anything about it kind of thing. And so to think that that Semitism means policy or predisposition favorable to Jews, that's pretty substantial. Like I say, that equals supremacy in my mind. That's what they're talking about, is supremacy. If all the rules and regulations go towards you and are in favor of you, you require it. It's a demand. And the way that we think about things before we even go into it, you're getting favor. If we find out that you're involved, then you're going to get favor. Like that is the definition of supremacy. That's some royalty type shit, you know. Go watch Game of Thrones, and you'll see that scene where the ugly little prince gets bested by the fat kid with the swords or whatever. Can't remember it. I only saw it. I saw it because I was in the room. I hated that show. My wife watched that show. But even the girl's sister went against her sister because the predisposition was that the king is always right, royalty is always right, whatever they say goes, you just do it, and whatever the consequences are, you suffer them, because if you don't, the punishment will extend to family and friends, right? Like that's what that predisposition was as far as royalty goes. And that's almost what they have now. We are predisposed to thinking, you can't say that. Don't say that. Don't say those things. You know, we have all heard the term anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic and that bullshit. And anytime you say anything against them, they play that card. And it's supposed to shut you up. You're supposed to be called you're supposed to get called anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism. And you're supposed to go, oh, no, wait, no, that's not what I'm saying. I like you guys, and I think it's okay, and your cult is okay, and I have friends that are your cult members. That's not what I'm saying. I oppose the Zionists. Right? It's a weapon. And it works very, very well. It stops most people from talking about it, you know, atrocious shit, because they don't want to get this label instead of being proudly given the label. And so I'm looking up gaslighting, because I think this might be something that is completely overlooked, especially in the Tartaria community, which I consider myself to be a part of. You know, I definitely subscribe to the idea that a reset happened. I think it was actually sooner than we think. 1850s maybe, I don't know. I can't begin to speculate because I'm not given full access to the information. But there are pages like My Lunch Break. There are pages like the Lucius Aurelian page. These are great. Mind Unveiled is a great channel. Although Mind Unveiled definitely seems like it's... I always just find it interesting how all of these channels go out of their way to avoid mentioning the Jews, which is probably why their channels are allowed to be so huge. But they'll you know, if they do even have to slightly sort of mention them, they'll do one of those backpedal, like, I'm not saying this, and I don't want to upset him, and like, it's so crazy how people are so fearful of offending or upsetting this one group of fucking people. And you have to ask, how did we get that way? We're not like that with anybody else. You'll make fun of a retarded person before you'll make fun of a Jewish person. And that's pretty fucked up. But so I think something like the gas lighting system that existed in our society is a much bigger like red flag than people have looked into. And I think when you do these things, it's very hard to so purposefully confusing and spread thin and so many different things, so that it's hard to keep that focus in that one direction. There are so many more interesting pieces. And there are so many parts where you're given a narrative that doesn't fit. It doesn't make any sense. But you just have to be like, well, it's the way it is. That's what it is. And you're not supposed to look into the logistics. You're just supposed to believe that the linotype machine was made because it was commissioned, and it was just made. It was just made. A German clockmaker made it. I wouldn't even. Todd is a fucking long-term pedophile on here. He's been swanging from my nuts for a long time. He's supposed to distract you. I wouldn't worry too much about what that pedo says. And so it ends up being very difficult, at least from my perspective, because I just ask too many questions. You can't just tell me that at that time, the most common fuels for gas lighting were wood gas, coal gas, and in limited cases, water gas. Without me going, what the fuck is water gas? Water gas? Some urban historical districts, and if you want to hear the beginning part, just go watch the previous video. Some urban historic districts retain gas street lighting, and gas lighting is used indoors or outdoors to create or preserve a nostalgic effect. I read all this before, but we're just going to read it again. So here is an illustration of designs of lamplights circa 1900. Wish it'd stop making it so difficult. All right, there you go. Look at all these different gas lights that existed. Must have been a shit ton of manufacturers, right? Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be engaged in what they're saying, and not as sharp, not as focused as you should be. They're just here for distraction. So even if it's them making themselves an easy target, like being called a pedo and not denying it, it's so that we do that, so we don't keep going in the direction that we're going in, and not 100% focused on the narrative at hand. These are energy vampires, man. And the other thing, when you understand that the more you comment to them, the more money they make, the more points they get. That's a real big deterrent, if you ask me. You're helping them out by responding to them. That's what ACT.IL says. ACT.IL. The system in which they turned trolling into like a real life video game. given points, and fuck it, let's just explain it more so than I can by memory. So L is a locked page, can't edit this. Act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online, quote, anti-Israel content, such as the BDS movement, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Its activities were referred to as a, quote, online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room of pro-Israel experts. This is the big part. Act.il directed its users to, quote, missions, military missions, to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. More importantly, it also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. So the whole mental illness, mental defects, you know, take your meds, you're schizophrenic. That's why they all say the same dumb shit. That's why they all spell the same words wrong. This is the provided talking. That's why they never come on here and say Israel is good because of this. The friars are good people because of, we're not a cult because of this or that, or they don't do anything like that because they can't. There is no denying what's being said. They can't make good arguments for Israel or for friarism. So the provided talking points are mental illness. That seems to be their major weapon. Because if they can convince the person watching that the person talking is crazy, that must mean the things they're saying are crazy. And if you, the watcher, is relating to what would be considered crazy, that's significant. Significant. You know, that's going to be something that makes you go, well, fuck. If this guy's crazy and he's starting to make sense to me, that would make me crazy. So I'm not going to pay attention. I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to listen. At least in theory, that's what they're hoping for. Hopefully you're smart enough to see it. You know, if I'm wrong, then tell me what and how I'm wrong, what I'm wrong about and how I'm wrong. Don't just hide behind, that's crazy, you're crazy. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. By completing these missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. That's a nice way of saying points lead to prizes. So they turned this, the thing, I mean, they're so scared of this. They understand that you know, the avalanche starts with the pebbles, right? They understand that they have to, you know, that people like me who open people up to thinking on their own. You know, maybe you open up and you do your own feed and you get much more success than I do, whatever it is. People realizing that they're not alone, that there are other people out there that are seeing things and asking the questions they're asking. You know, this is powerful shit. And if it wasn't so powerful and it wasn't so dangerous, then this kind of shit wouldn't exist. Team Jorge wouldn't exist. This is, they're not going to come out and say it. Yes, we are super scared of people like Guy Williams because he says all the right shit and yada, yada, yada. No. They're going to come out thinking they're smarter than us, thinking they you know, thinking they're better than us, and they're going to
Need my charger?
Of course. Ooh. How you doing, dude?
Good.
Come here. Love you, bud. I mean, you want the cats and shit in here, right?
Yeah.
All right. Do I make money off this stream? Wouldn't it be nice? No, I'm not allowed to reach those numbers. Remember? Feed gets shut down. Comment section gets shut off. Anytime I start really rolling, they fuck with the feed, so those kinds of numbers. But if you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. It helps out. And I mean, this time we're not even, well, trying not to talk about them. This time I'm literally trying to talk about gas lighting. Right? I'm actually talking about the nonsense gaslighting that's taking place on my feed. But as always, there are just random people who are mad at me for talking about these things. Gee, I wonder who that is. Prior to use of gaseous fuels for lighting, the early lighting fuels consisted of olive oil, beeswax, fish oil, whale oil, and sesame oil. I just think that's so fucking crazy and sad. The way that they talk about how prominent whaling was back in the day and how tied into everyday life it was. Whale oil being a widely used commodity. To think just how many whales had to be in the ocean back then for them to just have this steady supply that they could decimate. Right? These were the most commonly used fuels until the late 18th century, of course. Whale oil was especially widely used for lighting in European cities such as London through the early 19th century. So the 1800s. Chinese records dating back to 1700 years indicate the use of natural gas in homes for lighting and heating. You guys know about that? This is one of those things that's always really prominent in these narratives we're given. We're, feeding the it don't make no sense. You sure do know how to make stupid comments, Todd. I guess takes one to know one. Right? It's what they can do, Will. That's what you're not understanding. It's what they have. This guy isn't sitting back on this one bombshell comment that he could say that would just destroy my feed, my credibility, all that other stuff. He's just waiting for the right time to drop it. No, he doesn't have it. He's not smart enough to engage on any of this shit. And he's got a job to do. He gets paid by the interactions, by the distraction he can commit, or he can cause. Understand that's what's going on. Trust me, if they had something better to say, they would absolutely say it. They would. They're not just waiting for that right time. Just letting me call him a pedo over and over again, and he's just waiting for that right time. He doesn't have anything to say, and he's not smart enough to engage on any of these discussions because they're inbred stupid fucks. They don't know shit. They're inbred. They're only where they are because of what they are, not because they're so smart. Anybody who ever dealt with Epstein outside of the circle will tell you that he was not this smart man. The illusion of him being this financial wizard and this math geek and all that, he just wasn't that guy. Well, at least there's no evidence of it. They're put in their positions. They don't earn it. Daddy, I want to be a comedian. Okay, let me call Uncle Morty and see what we can do. Like, that's literally all it comes down to. They don't have to earn the spot. That's why the black people that make it to the top, like Dave Chappelle and Patrice and Cat, these guys are actually funny because they had to be. You know, they had to stand out in this sea of extremely talented people, and then the friars who get all the gigs. So they had to be better than the best to be able to get anything. Who are they? The friars. F-R-E-I-E-R-S. But just think about this. This is the narrative that we're about to be given. The fact that the Chinese were lighting and heating homes and streets and all that using gas as much as 1,700 years ago. And you're going to go, well, how the fuck did they do that? Let me give you the answer, apparently. The natural gas was transported by means of bamboo pipes. Bamboo pipes, huh? They were running natural gas, for lighting homes and all that, heating and lighting homes through bamboo pipes as much as 1,700 years ago. You should try, hey guys, period, should try, period, walking straight line and not pass the homeless shelter. Trump fucks children, there you go. Good for you. Did you hear what I said? I did not say F-R-I-E-R-S. Wow, that bee just tried to sting me. But it landed on my shit instead. Landed on my brace. That's pretty interesting. And really, the origins of Freemasonry is Judaism. Interesting enough. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the chosen who run the world. The chosen people. God's chosen people. The natural gas was transported by means of bamboo pipes to homes. The ancient Chinese of the spring and autumn period made the first practical use of natural gas for lighting purposes around 500 BC. So, it's even more than 1,700 years ago. It's more like 2,500 years ago. Wait, what? It's always interesting to me how, like, our system, our history is always American or European history, and it's always white. Let's see. By friars, do you mean the program tool like Todd, right? Yeah, well, if you look up what friars means, then you'll get your answer. But this is a word I can use that doesn't get my page in trouble. Because even though Jews is how they refer to themselves, they can turn that, it's been one of these words that can be used as a slur. So they can just say, oh, well, he was saying that word. So we just refer to them as friars for practical purposes. Give your theory on the Las Vegas shooting. I don't have a theory. I just don't believe what they tell me. I have no idea what was going on. I have no idea what the end outcome was and who the main players were and all that shit. And that's part of this narrative that we have to understand is like, you don't have to know it all to know what isn't real and what, morning. It's not about having all of the answers. It's understanding that the only perspective you have is the given one, is the one that you were given in order to have you thinking the way you do, or the way they want us to be thinking. So it starts with us acknowledging that something else is going on. We need more information. I highly suggest, after you're done here, or, whether that's after I'm done or not, doesn't matter. After you're done here, look up Scooper of Coop, the page Scooper of Coop, and his commenting name is Coop, but he put out this really fantastic, I think it's 3 parts, I'm not remembering right, but 3-part series on the Las Vegas shooting and how it doesn't make sense. There's also a video called Route 51 by Mindy Robinson, who is an absolute jackass, mind you. Like, Mindy Robinson is the epitome of unknowing shill. Like, maybe she knows she's a shill, but she just seems like somebody who is saying all the things they want said, so they allow her to exist. But she did a great video on the cell phone calls. Like, there's this website that was created where it was a map. It showed a map of Las Vegas, and then it had these different icons on it, where one would be like a cell phone, one would be like a camera icon, and one would be, a police star or something like that. And if you clicked on that icon, it would either play the cell phone call that was made from that location at whatever time it said, or it would take you to the video that was filmed at that location, or the police report that was, or the police whatever interaction. I don't remember all of the fine details, sorry. Should actually probably try to watch that again today. But it just shows you how widespread the carnage was on that night. And the gunshots that were everywhere, and the multiple reports of multiple shooters, and the helicopters, and all these different things. And it's a really amazing website where, I don't know who did it or whatever, but it really does just show you how impossible the narrative we're given is. The one shooter from his hotel room, yada, yada, yada. So, you should absolutely watch it. I mean, it has some of her propaganda bullshit in it, but it's still a great video. And it's videos like that shouldn't exist. If the narrative that we're being told is true, then it's like, there's no conspiracy videos of the Super Bowl last year. I mean, there might be some people that'll be pointing to, like, where the fix comes in or whatever. Bad calls or what. But as far as what happened, you can go watch it. There's record of it. There's stats. There's all the information you need to know that you could possibly even ask. Like, what percentage of third down plays to the right side of the field over 15 yards were made? And you'll be able to find that shit, right? There's no conspiracy theory videos about the inauguration day where what you're seeing isn't what's actually happening. And no, there's plenty of times where the narrative given is fairly obvious, and you see it for what it is. So the idea that somebody could make not just the assumption that something wasn't right about the Vegas shooting, but then put together such an amazingly convincing compilation of, not conspiracy, not theories, but actual evidence of phone calls, videos, shit like that, police reports, gunshots, all that, like that shouldn't exist. There shouldn't be a question of the earth shape at this point. It's 2025. Supposedly we have rocket ships and all these other amazing things. We can do all this crazy shit. And yet, as far as give me some proof that the earth is round footage, well, that's really hard to come by. Yet find some videos proving it's not, and these are everywhere. And they're presenting you with pieces of evidence that you can't overlook. Speaking of overlooking, you can overlook. You can see way further than you should be able to see on a round earth with a calculated curvature. It's just not possible. You know, shit will go down behind a curve. That's what they say. They say that the reason you can't see a boat anymore is because it goes over the curve, when really it just goes out of your vision. You know, your ability to see, your perspective. You have a limited perspective. You can only see so far. But you think it goes over the curve. So if you're willing to say that boats go over the curve, then you're saying there is a curve, and it affects the way that we see things. So when people can see for fucking 20, 30 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, that just shouldn't exist. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work that way. And so it's stories like that, stories like the Las Vegas thing. I'm surprised nobody's done the San Bernardino shooting yet, because that is easily one of the craziest stories I've ever encountered. And if I had more technical ability as far as, you know, computers and shit go, I could absolutely present you with a narrative that would make you question things based on the information they give us. The impossible times that they say these things took place. The entire San Bernardino shooting, start to finish, was 2.5 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes. And yet all this carnage took place. They came in, they left, they escaped. It just doesn't make any sense. The part at the end of that where they get shot, they leave their house, they drive to the freeway, throwing fake pipe bombs out the windows, in a shootout with the police, get onto the freeway, drive down to an exit. I don't know if it's the next exit or whatever, but drive down to an exit, get off the freeway, go down the street, turn, go down the street again, stop at a light, suit up, put their body armor on, get all their shit on, turn, go down another street, turn into a neighborhood, go down another street, stop the car. When they stop, one police car shows up for some reason, and those cops end up getting shot, and then a shootout takes place between them and the kid. And this all takes place within like a minute, in 20 seconds or some shit. It's literally just not possible. It's not a possible scenario. Yet if you know, it's what the official narrative is. So if this part of the official narrative is wrong, fake, lie, how do you trust any of it? Especially when you look at who's telling you said lie. Because it was the San Bernardino shooting that covered up for the Las Vegas shooting. When people started asking too many questions, the San Bernardino shooting happened, and the day after, it was either the morning, it was the morning after, a weird fog covered the entire northern hemisphere of the earth. All around the earth, people were in the northern part, they were saying there was a fog, an all day, all night fog. And it lasted like 3 weeks. And it had a funny smell to it. And it was cold. And eventually the news had to come out and be like, oh, this is a cold fog. Because cold fogs are a thing. Fog isn't a result of heat, of clouds supposedly settling and then rising back up with the warmth of the sun and the, bullshit, just bullshit. But cold fog, that's not really a thing, especially not a 3-week long fog. And it's just never even talked about. It's not even slightly mentioned. Also, this guy himself is Jewish. He said that before. Yes, I did. I said that many a times, right? Not not the idea that if I was Jewish, why wouldn't I go with that? Like if I wish I could say that. Like that would be amazing. If I could say that I grew up in the cult and I was brainwashed by the cult to believe my supremacy, our supremacy, yada yada yada. And I was big enough and good enough and righteous enough that I left the cult because of the pedophilia, because of the supremacy, the genocide, all that. I turned down all of the opportunity and the advancements and all the advantages that come from being one of these piece of shits. I turned it all down, excommunicated myself and you know, all that for the people. There's no benefit that comes from it. You know? If anything, speaking out like this, we all know you don't speak out like this and make it anywhere. There was this girl I went to school with. Her name was Julia Katz. And I didn't know Julia Katz was Jewish because I just didn't know that kind of shit back then. And we were friends on Facebook years ago. Julia Katz, I know you'll look her up. Ask her about how we fooled around during drama class, back behind the stage on the couch. And I almost got her, almost. This is like her first or second day at school too. She was a transfer in. But this is back in like 17, 18, 16, something like that. I posted something about the Jews. And she came on and was like all mad. And why are you saying these things? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, because they're true. And, you know, you're the worst people in the world and all this other stuff. And she was like, oh, well, good luck with the morning. Pardon? Yes, good morning. I don't mind. I love it like this. Open the windows. But she came in and she was like, well, good luck with all your music career if you're going to talk about us like that. Like it was just like this. It was like this just, she just said it like so matter of factly, like, you know, you're not going to be able to get anywhere talking about the Jews, right? And that was, you know, that was, I didn't, it was really telling. And of course she would block me and run away and didn't want to hear the response and all that, like they always do. But anyway, the ancient Chinese in the spring-autumn period made the first practical use of natural gas for lighting purposes around 500 BC, in which they used bamboo pipelines to transport both brine and natural gas for many miles, such as the ones in Zhejiang salt mines. Think about how crazy that is. Think about how crazy that is. 2,500 years ago, the Chinese had miles of bamboo pipelines running natural gas through them. Does that even sound like the history you were given in school? How come we weren't told about this shit? Public illumination preceded by centuries the development and widespread adoption of gas lighting. Public illumination preceded by centuries the development and widespread adoption of gas lighting. What the fuck does that even mean? what's public illumination then if it preceded the development of gas? Like, how does that make sense? In 1417, Sir Henry Barton, Lord Mayor of London, ordained lanthorns with lights to BEE hanged out on the winter evening betwixt Hallowtide and Candlemas. It's interesting. So now we're jumping like a lot ahead, you know. This is 2,000 years later. Amazing how it took 2,000 years, and you'll see this consistently with the narrative we're given, where even something like the concept of zero was first put forth in like the 600s in India, but wasn't introduced to the Europeans until, what was it, 1162 or something like that? Oh, no, they're just looking. Yeah. I was so excited. I thought some Jehovah's had shown up. Yes. I'd rather have conversations with somebody than making fun of somebody. That's all they have. You're answering your own questions, dude. They don't have anything to say. This is the best thing. And this is their job. Their job is to distract. Their job is to infiltrate. You know, their job, they're doing their job. Make it make sense otherwise. Sunday morning, from 8:30 on, they are here. And they're here every day, begging for attention and trying their best to talk shit and stop the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and you know, eliminate the J control scheme. By the way, this 6 and 4 bullshit isn't working, so we'll reset one more time and see what happens. Pedophiles, kill yourself.